Hi there, I'm Peter Russell from Supertax. Thanks for watching another one of my video blogs. Today's discussion is on the deductibility of home office expenses here in Canada. Just a brief and general understanding. Let's suppose we have an individual and he has either of earned salary employment income, earned commission employment income, or self-employment income. Well, if that's the case and he has met certain criteria, then he's eligible to deduct certain home office expenses. Now, what criteria should he meet first? Firstly, he must use his home as his principal place to earn business or employment income. Secondly, he must regularly and continually meet with clients, customers, and patients at his home. Now, if he's met both these criteria, then he's most likely eligible to deduct home office expenses. Now, the amount that you can deduct per scenario is different. If the individual is an employee under salary, he most likely is eligible to deduct a portion of utilities such as hydro, gas, and water, a portion of repairs, a portion of maintenance, and a portion of any rent paid. Now, if our individual is a commissioned employee, he can deduct whatever has been mentioned in the first example, plus he could deduct a portion of any property tax paid and a portion of any health insurance paid. Now, if our individual is self-employed, which means he picks up his income on what's called a T2125, then he could deduct as home office whatever's been mentioned in the first two examples, plus a portion of any mortgage interest paid and capital cost allowance on the home. Capital cost allowance is essentially depreciating the home for tax purposes. Now, how do we determine the reasonable amount of home office expenses? Well, generally we use a formula which is the total work area divided by the total area of the home. Now, I have a written example on my big board to walk through to show you how this can be calculated. So let's go to the big board. Okay, home office expense. Self-employed example. Let's assume our individual in this example is self-employed and he owns a home. He does not rent. His business is based in his home. Let's assume he's an accountant. Okay, so his hydro expense is $1,600. His gas expense is $1,400. His water is $500. Property tax is $4,000. Mortgage interest is $8,000. His home insurance, $600. His maintenance cost is $1,000. That totals $17,100 in home expenses. Now let's determine this individual's workspace area. His first room is 12 feet by 16 feet, giving him 192 square feet. His second room is 10 feet by 12 feet, giving him 120 square feet here. The total square footage of his workspace is now 312 square feet. Now let's assume his total house is 2,000 square feet. 312 divided by 2,000 is 15.6%. Now let's assume our accountant individual only uses this workspace 6 days a week. So what we got to do is multiply 15.6 by 6/7. That new figure is now 13.3%. We multiply 17,100 by 13.3%. That will give him our calculated home office expense of $2,274. This would be deductible on his T2125. Now, let's say generally the home office expense is the last deduction on the T2125. The reason of that is because if after all your other expenses our individual is in a loss position, he cannot deduct that home office expense during this year. It can be carried forward to the following year. So the rule is, under any of the scenarios, if he's self-employed, if he's a commission employee, or he's just a regular employee, he cannot create a loss with his home office expenses. They can be carried forward to a further year. Important rule to remember. Okay. I hope you found my video informative on the deductibility of home office expenses. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below, or you can send me an email at peter@supertax.ca. Thank you very much. Have a great day.